All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Debbie Melnyk from VCSQI, and this is the June 6th meeting of our Person and Family Engagement Workgroup. If you can find the chat box near the bottom of the screen, it would help us all to know who's on and where you're from. So thank you for those who've been able to find it so far. Miriam, Dr. McLeod, Allison. We know Joanne is on as well, and several VCSQI staff members. The focus of today's call is really going to be on seeking and using patient and family feedback. And there are a couple of milestones on the assessment tool, which most of you should have done at least a baseline version of so far, and some of the metrics that speak to using feedback from patients and families. One is more at the patient level with shared decision making, and the other focuses more on whether or not input from patient and family members is used to improve how your practice works. So I think we'll talk about both of those today. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to the agenda? In general, any comments or topics that you want to hear more about, maybe if not today, at a later time? Okay, well, you can always email me or mention it to Ivan and Sherry during a phone call with them if there's something specific to PFE that you'd like this group to cover on future meetings. So we're going to start with a story from one of our practices that does focus on asking for and including patient and family feedback. Dr. Gary McLeod from the McLeod Chiropractic Center in Michigan has agreed to talk a little bit about what he does to get patient input into the care they receive. So thanks so much, Dr. McLeod. If you want to just talk through the process you use and the results you get and how you do it, that would be great, I think, for others to hear.
Very good. Welcome, everybody, and thanks, Debbie, for asking me to share with you today. And for those who are out there, as Debbie said, I'm a chiropractor. I've been at this for 37 years, so I'm an old dog, and hopefully some of what I know is worth listening to. But what we're talking about was the gathering patient information and family information and trying to figure out how we can work that into the patient's care plan. And I'm sure our offices are all alike in that we have a case history form that a new patient would fill out when they come in, and it gathers all the aches, pains, complaints, and patients come in, they want to get rid of something. They have some sort of a pain or an ailment that's bugging them, and although they come in with the pain, I don't really think the pain is their problem. It's how that pain is affecting their life, and I think it's more what I can't do. I can't sit, I can't work, I can't play with my grandchildren, or very common to have a young man, a working guy with a sore back, a mortgage, and 3 kids to feed. His concern isn't so much the back pain, it's that he needs to work. He needs to feed the kids and pay the bills. So what we do in the office is the staff will gather the general information, about the condition, when it began, is it getting better, getting worse, the radiating, all the stuff you guys would do. So when I speak with a patient, I'm not so much asking them about their aches, pains, complaints, and how it started and when it started. The question I like to ask is something like, what do you want to do better as a result of being here? Or maybe, what is it you can't do right now that you're hoping to be able to do again? And what that gives me then is a real tangible goal to work with the patient. And if it's an elderly patient, normally an adult child will be with them or another spouse, and between the two of them, they can normally come up with 1 or 2 items that they want to be able to do better. So that then becomes our goal, and I know we all work with Medicare, and Medicare wants measurable outcomes. So a fellow who wants to be able to work again, very easy, measurable outcome. He wants to be able to work and provide for his family. Medicare would understand that that's a goal. So that goal would go in the initial examination notes. And then down the road at about either when the pain disappears or at 4 weeks, whichever comes first, we'll pause and do a reevaluation, probably just like you do. And during that reevaluation, we have a sheet of paper that we call a patient care progress report with a whole bunch of questions in it. What changes have you noticed? I'm looking at it now. What percentage has been eliminated? Any new problems that have arisen? Is your improvement at the speed you expected, taking longer than expected, occurring faster than expected? Is there anything you would like us to explain about your treatment or condition? And then in addition to that, we will redo an actual functional rating index, always keeping track of their visual analog scale, their pain scale as we go along. So at the end of when the symptoms are gone, or 4 weeks, again, whichever comes first, we'd reevaluate, redetermine a new goal. And determining that goal is very conversational. It's not, it just comes up in conversation with the patient. There's not a hard set manner that we drag that information out of the patient. We try to see not just the patient, but who's the person back there? Who's the person inside that patient, and what makes them tick? What do they want to do better? Let's try to develop a relationship that we can build on, and it kind of makes life, I don't want to say easier, but it gives us a tangible goal that we can discuss on each and every visit. So that is kind of the nutshell of what Debbie and I had talked about, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about anything that I talked about or anything that I didn't talk about.
Thanks, Dr. McLeod. Does anyone have any specific questions or want Dr. McLeod to elaborate on any points that he's made? Or do any of you do something similar?
I would like to ask a question, if I could, to the group.
Yep.
When you guys do a reevaluation, a reexamination, what do you use to reestablish new goals? How are you redetermining those? Any suggestions? Or are you doing goals?
Come on, don't be shy. There's only a few of you on.
Hi, this is Miriam.
Hello.
I just wanted to share one thing with you. We do have like a survey. We leave it in the front, in the waiting room, and I can share it with Debbie after we're done. I'll send it to her. It's basically, you know, having patients evaluate our practice, you know, the doctors, what do they think we can do to improve, or how they can rate us. And based on that survey, we try to fix if there are any issues, or we try to boost whatever is positive in the practice. So.
Well, that would be nice if you could share it. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I think, Dr. McLeod, the process you were describing is more in sync with shared decision-making, which is one of the milestones. It's actually milestone number 4, I think, both on the primary care and the specialty assessment tool, where you're including the patient's or family's goals and wishes in your treatment plan and documenting that. And you do it, it sounds like you do it so very easily and just part of the conversation that you have with the patient. It would be great if you might be willing to share the patient care progress report that you said you have.
Sure.
And I can send it around. Miriam, I think what you're talking about is more like milestone number 5, which asks if you're seeking input from patients and families about, you know, how the practice works, and then taking steps to improve the practice based on that, if it, you know, if it makes sense. So that survey would also be very interesting to see. Do most of your patients fill it out, Miriam? Your surgical practice, right?
Yes, well, some of them they do, some of them they take it, they said, we'll bring it back, they never bring it back. But
Yeah.
we got a couple of them who gave it back, you know, especially, you know, those who they had any, like they waited for a while, you know, they complained about waiting. I'm just giving you an example, you know.
Yeah.
Mainly, you know, like positive, we don't get it back, but if there's anything, you know, that's not up to standard or anything, you know, like waiting, you know, 15 minutes more, that's something, you know, they would put it on their survey.
Well, I think that's true with most surveys like this, that you don't always hear about the positive things. You hear about the complaints and the things that could be fixed.
Mhm.
Have there been instances, Miriam, where you've actually made a change in the practice based on something in the survey?
Yes, mainly, you know, the wait, you know, patients don't like to wait, which I mean, all of us, we don't like to wait. So we changed the scheduling process, you know, how we schedule patients. So between having one new patient and a one follow-up instead of having two new patients at the same time, you know what I mean? So we divided the work in a way where no one has to wait.
Wow. If you've not yet shared that with Ivan or Sherry a little bit more about how you did that, that might be a good thing to do, and we can share that around more if you're willing to. The process you use to actually reduce wait time.
Yes, we'll do that.
So I want to go back to Dr. McLeod for the topic of shared decision making and what you described. Dr. McLeod, how do your patients and families respond typically? Are they eager to answer your questions and you know, about what do you want to do that you can't now, and to help you set the goal together?
Most patients are surprised that I asked that question, to be honest with you, because it's not a mechanical question. It's, you know, it's like, oh, you do care about what I'm able to do. And a lot of patients are taken back by, I haven't thought about that. So I think patients are receptive to the question, and I think they find it meaningful. And it does give us a common core that we can, or common bond that we can discuss in every visit. And it might just be as simple as if they said on that first visit, want to be able to play with the grandkids, just a simple question on their next visit, and how the grandkids doing, which always warms up a grandparent pretty easily.
Right.
But so if you ever need to get a conversation going with someone you know to be a grandparent, just of course ask about the grandkids. That'll get it. They might talk too much then, but yeah.
Well,
Patients are receptive to the answer.
and you know, I think the approach you're using is the foundation of what's now been called motivational interviewing as well, where you are asking the patient, what's important to you? What would you like to do? What motivates you, more or less, to, in some instances, change your lifestyle? And I'm still trying to get an expert speaker on motivational interviewing, but what you're describing is the foundation of that, where, you know, you need to know what does make the patient move.
What makes them tick?
Yeah, yeah. And that helps shape the approach you're going to take with helping them reach those goals. Are any of the rest of you doing anything similar to this with shared decision making and documenting the patient's wishes and goals in their treatment plan? I know we have heart and vascular and surgical, and Joanne, I'm drawing a blank right now on I think are you ophthalmology?
For heart and vascular, currently I don't have any feedback yet, but we're working on getting that started.
Is that you, Allison?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I'm going to see if I can pull up a form quickly here, one that you all should be seeing regularly with Ivan and Sherry. Whoops, that's not what I want. You can see all of our enrolled clinicians here. So this is you're going to see a blank copy of the work plan that is completed based on your assessment. And when you get to the practice plan summary, now this is all dummy data here. This is just a blank example. But here, for example, the milestone number 4 is practice can demonstrate that it encourages patients and families to collaborate in goal setting, decision making, and self-management. So Allison, for example, if you're not aware of this, right in this work plan, when you click over here, you are taken to specific activities that you can perform. This is called the change package, and it's built into the work plan that we have for all of you. So you can see there are all these different approaches that can be used and taken to help the practice get to this milestone.
Okay.
Okay. And
I
then
can do that.
Sherry or Ivan will be able to kind of walk you through some of that a little bit more, but I want to show you the same thing, everyone, for milestone 5. And this is the one that speaks to whether or not you are incorporating patient and family feedback into your quality improvement system and making, you know, operational decisions or changes based on what patients and families are saying. So here again on this link, this is all within this one Excel file. You can see the types of things that you might do in order to get patient and family feedback. And here's the one that Miriam spoke to: regularly survey patients and families. Some of the other ones get a little trickier, especially if you're like a solo practice. You might not have a board. Might be tough to pull a group of patients and families together to serve as an advisory console. And some, you know, are more advanced than others. Like certainly putting a patient on your board, if you have a board, is more advanced than just running a survey. But this is also what I included. This list is on attachment C of the minutes down here, but just so you know where it's from. It's from the change package. Well, these are 2 great examples of milestones 4 and 5. Dr. McLeod, thank you. This is shared decision-making in action, what you're describing. And I look forward to getting a copy of your patient care progress report that I can send around if that's okay with you.
Very good. Yep. I will get that off to you.
All right. And Miriam, great description of survey that you have patients and families complete, and some evidence that you actually have used it to make changes in reducing the wait time in the office. So a copy of that survey would be great too, and I'll include it with the minutes when I send it around, and we'll post them on the website as well. Perfect. All right. Any other points that anyone wants to bring up about either of these 2 ways of seeking and using patient and family feedback? Okay, Dr. McLeod, if you can no longer stay with us, then we understand if you have patience. Otherwise, I'm happy if you can. Just going to move through, you know, I'm trying to keep these calls to 30 minutes for everyone's sake. We know it's the middle of the day and there are patients and office issues to deal with. So what I want to do is just quickly show you where we are with that Survey Monkey report or survey that we asked everyone to fill out. There were 16 answers, quite a ways from our number of practices, which is about 80 now. But I just want to quickly show you the responses to the questions. So this first question looked at whether or not your practice uses an e-tool. And while the bar charts show you, in essence, which one got the most answers, it's easier to read the questions, I think, since they're cut off of the bar chart. So you can see about 37% do offer multiple forms of alternative visit types. And about 31% rely solely on face-to-face encounters. And in between there is differing levels of use of technology. Come on, move down. Here's shared decision-making. And again, if we look at the actual numbers, 50% say they do not regularly use shared decision-making or other tools in goal setting. So that's, you know, if this 16 is representative of our practices, that's a fair number of practices and clinicians who are not doing the kind of thing Dr. McLeod described. 4% is 25% are training their staff in how to do this. And about 19% are actually doing it. That's 3 of the 16 responses. Utilizing a tool to assess and measure patient activation. I don't know if any of you were on the call when we had a speaker about patient activation. The recording of that webinar is available. It was probably back in January or February, but it's on VCSQI's website under the PFE section. Patient activation is a concept that talks about how engaged the patient is in managing their own health. And the more activated a patient, the more involved they are, the more tuned in they are to the things they need to do by themselves and not just depend on a healthcare worker or professional. So you can see most of the respondents here do not do that. And this is probably a national trend. Patient activation, while not a totally new concept, is only being promoted more and more rigorously in the recent few years. So we can talk more about this again if the group would like to. Similarly, health literacy level. But back to activation, there is a very brief set of questions that can be used with every patient that gives you a sense of how involved is this patient really going to be in their healthcare. Question 6 is also intended to focus on whether or not each patient's health literacy level is assessed. And again, you see most respondents, almost 70% have said no, they're not doing this. Why is it important? Because you want to know you're speaking the same language as the patient is and that they're understanding you. And if their health literacy level is very low, then how you speak to them and describe and explain things will also need to be altered from perhaps a higher level of explanation that you're used to providing. 7th question asks whether you're promoting patient-centric medication management practices. Now here, almost 70% said yes. The point of this practice relates to the fact that most readmissions to hospitals, the largest percent of readmission cause has to do with medication. An adverse event, taking it wrong, not taking it. Educating patients for correct self-management is really critical. This next question looks at whether or not there are policies, procedures, or actions taken to support patients and family members as participants on your practice's committees. And again, this probably is not as easy to do in a practice as it is in a hospital. So not much of a surprise really to see that the larger percent, 11 out of 16, do not have patients on any committees at this time. obtaining feedback, what we just spoke about, what Miriam described with surveys. And here, half of the respondents do not have a formal system for obtaining feedback. The other half have some kind of range of getting input. And then we asked what type of education and assistance would you like? And you see that assessing patients' level of activation, and this was check all that apply, so got 10 checks, and promoting patient self-management of medications was right behind it with 9. So we're going to continue to address all of these issues through these monthly calls that we have. Okay, so I just wanted to run through that with you. The next agenda item, again, just remind you of the change concept references, and I only attached those for milestone 5 to this agenda, and they'll be in the minutes as well, back here as attachment C, but hopefully you were paying attention when I showed how you can find that on the transformation work plan that you and Ivan and Sherry are working off of. A quick reminder, this next agenda item is related to signing up for our Healthcare Communities website. There are so many resources on here. These links will take you to those that are specific to patient and family engagement, person and family engagement. And that last link in this agenda item is a template for telling your story about person and family engagement. So if any of you want to do that, want to complete it, Ivan or Sherry or I can help you with it. The next meeting would have been July 4th. I already sent a calendar update changing it to July 11th. As is the case, I'll send an agenda out the day before. Hopefully we'll get this speaker I've been waiting to hear back from on motivational interviewing. But in the meantime, if there are other topics, if there's something you would like to share with the group, just shoot me an email and we'll get you set up for the next meeting. As you can see, we don't ask for slides. It's very informal, conversational. It's a good way to share and promote something good that your practice is doing, and for the others to hopefully walk away with something beneficial to use in their own practice. Any other comments or ideas or questions anyone has? All right, well, again, thank you very much, Dr. McLeod, and thank you, Miriam, for speaking up as well. And Allison, if you need some help with the survey that you're trying to implement, you know where to find us, me or Ivan or Sherry, and we'll be there for you.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of the day and week. Bye-bye.